In my first book, Eat Your Drink, I have this caramel-covered cherry tomato that I injected with alcohol. So it's supposed to be this bite where the alcohol is in the cherry tomato, and then you've got the caramel. Now, when I was 16 years old, I was in France. I did a program where I lived with this French family for 6 weeks. And it was a small town called Cadillac, which was outside of Bordeaux. And their little bakery, they would have these caramel-covered tomatoes. And I thought they were so fantastic. But they were, they were soft. They wasn't hard, right? And so when I was doing it for my book, I was like, oh, I made them hard, and then I injected alcohol, and they were great, but there was some element missing to it. There was something that really wasn't kind of coming together. And obviously, since COVID and so forth, I've been cooking so much at home and having people over, small groups of people. And I was like, I need to revisit this, and I need to really kind of nail it down. And I really love being creative with this. So we're going to make the caramel today, and we're going to cover it in the cherry tomatoes. But I'm going to show you how to really just make a very, very simple caramel. There's things that I also like to do to it, but we're going to show you, just learn a simple caramel, because what a caramel really is just liquefying sugar. So I've got a cup of sugar. You always are just going to start with a cup of sugar. That's it. So we're going to take this cup of sugar and we're going to put it on the stove over here. And you'll use a pan or a skillet. And you just heat it up. And again, you want to keep stirring it. I have a whisk here. And we're just going to keep stirring this until it liquefies. So the heat can be pretty high. And then what I'm going to do, depending on how much soft you want this, hard you want this, whatever, we're going to put butter. Typically, butter and cream go into a caramel as well. I put about 1/3 of the stick of butter and just a little drop of cream, and that's it. And then I let this harden or soften up, and I'll put the cherry tomato around it. And then I salt it and I freeze it. And the whole trick that I've really found is freezing the tomato is what changes the whole consistency and experience of it. So that's what I want to share with you. And I just wanted to share you because this is something I struggled with for so long. And then by the time I really revisited it, it was like it came together like that. So I'm just going to keep stirring this. So it's going to take a little while. So. Okay, so you can see it's complete, everything is completely melted. I've taken the heat off. I'm going to take it off the flame. Smoking a little bit, but nothing is burned. And then what I like to do pretty much right away is I'll add 1/3 of the stick of the butter. That's pretty much a good amount here. And that will start to swish around. You can swish that around. It's still warm. And that will melt right in. You can see that. And then I'll probably really just put a little splash of heavy cream, because I really want to try to keep it not too soft of a caramel. And then stir that together. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Okay, this is going to all go together. It's going to start to cool. And now I've got a caramel. And now we'll take this and we'll coat the tomato. So this is really one of my favorite things. And listen, I really just wanted to show you an easy way of doing this. I'm now doing this where I'm adding squid ink and different things in it. But I really like just the basic caramel. You can kind of see that, see? All right, now, before we have to heat this up, let's move this to the side. Okay. And now, let's do the first little caramel, right? So we'll get a little plate here. Let's get some cherry tomatoes. So these are sun gold cherry tomatoes. And then we're going to coat these. Now for me, if you can grab the ones that have the stem, I'll take that and I'll kind of like swish it around and cover the caramel all over it, right? And then listen, we don't need this yet. What we'll do is we'll take this out and we'll let that kind of sit and dry a little bit. What's going to happen is that's going to soften, and we'll start to mold the caramel, and we'll dip it in salt, and then we put it in the freezer. That's the cool part about it. So let's do a couple of those. And let's do one more here, and then we'll go to that other one and see how it's doing. But what I like to do again, and what's great about this is you can do these to order. So what will happen is, let's say you only have to do 3 or 4. This caramel will probably harden. Just put it aside. It can stay out. It's fine. And when you're ready to do tomatoes again or something else, you just heat the caramel up. That's what's great about it. Okay, let's go to this first one here. I just want to test this. Yeah, see, it's perfect. See how it hardens so quickly? So what you'll do is you'll just start to, as it's warm, you'll start to form it. See how tight that is? I can dip it in some salt right there, because it's still going to stick, right? And now you've got that one. So that's going to go in the freezer, right? We take this one. It's still, if you can get it while it's still a little bit warm, you mold it. Get it into that salt. Get it on there. So what I'm trying to do is, when I say mold it, see how it's sticking out? I want to keep it so it's all kind of all the tomato shape almost, as circular as possible. Okay? And we'll coat it like that. We'll put in a little bit of salt. And I'm telling you, this is the greatest little bonbon to give somebody at the end of the meal with a coffee. Maybe you're giving them a nice little cognac or a bourbon. So now I take that and I put that in the freezer. And just let that sit. Probably doesn't need to be in there. I mean, I usually, that's one of the things I kind of prepare in the morning for the nighttime. But that doesn't really need to sit more than probably an hour and it's frozen. But what's great about that is when you take that bite, you've got the salt, the caramel, the sweet, and then you've got this tomato flavor, but it's almost like a sorbet because it's frozen. So it adds a lot of interesting textures. And what I like to do especially is you have so many different layers in the bite. So again, have fun with this. I think it's really important to kind of get the basic recipe down. When I do this, and I can show you, I actually can get packets of Squid Ink. So right now, Squid Ink is pretty easy available. You don't need to have a fisherman take the ink out of a squid or something like that. You can actually buy packets of Squid Ink, Amazon or whatever, and what I did is I added until it gets nice and black. So here's a caramel, here's my Squid Ink caramel that I do for guests. I did the exact same thing as this I showed you, but when I was done putting the cream and butter in, I put some Squid Ink and marked it around. Now it's always that. Is it adding a lot of flavor? Not a lot, but there is that touch of ocean, and I love how the color is dark, because it's almost like it's a dark caramel, right? Dark chocolate caramel, but it doesn't have chocolate in it. So I wanted to show you that. Again though, have fun, and it's a really, really simple, interesting thing that I think goes a long way and will really surprise your guests.